Yeah, we threw out the first two plans where people actually did. You know, we there, so we got down, fuel service. And the people all kind of bargaining, playing salmon. Very dense, it was awesome there.
Is it a good trail?
Two trail was really cool. Yeah. So we had done, I don't know, for 7 summers, taking a steelhead. And was where they fly fish on my, yeah. Oh, please. Yeah, and so we spent a lot of time.
How you doing? Hello, honey. Hello.
I mean, it's. Yeah.
How's everything?
Good, you'll see. Good. The sergeants. Remember.
Oh, I really had to. Maybe 5 places.
There's. Climate days, doing that.
We've been bringing board. We
gotta do something with it, so.
And those guys talk.
Sure. We don't have, they haven't signed?
Neither one of you did that. So I'll have her sign when she comes in to sign the master agreement. If you agree, but we don't got time.
Yeah, no, I know, but, I know that they accept, I didn't know if they needed to sign this before I signed it.
No, as long as the majority agreed, so it doesn't matter if you sign it.
Okay. And is this the date that you put on this?
I would.
And what is it?
Yes.
Exactly.
Is that what it is? I've lost track over time this one.
No, we can't hear without food on.
Yeah, they have it in.
You mean?
We would too.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Some.
Oh, hello. You timed it just wrong.
Yes.
People today.
So.
Yes.
Well. Shut down.
I didn't even bring my.
So. Let me know.
Good job.
So that's.
I'm being notified that it's a special board meeting, so we're good.
Right.
Notified. Special board meeting.
I know, I was gonna send out a reminder, but I had doctor's appointment and I can't.
Just sneak by without signing.
You have to rely on the intel.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Not always.
Oh,
yeah, so all stuff goes, yes?
They don't.
We're getting ready to do. What's he signed it so yeah for wrestling?
Oh, that's right.
But did Albert not pay?
Nope.
Oh,
Why would you say something like that?
because it's a little obvious.
Just doesn't like me. Different.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was off.
Okay. Back down. Yeah, that's okay. Right, and then when you go out. And that where I saw you,
That's what it is.
yeah, there was a tree, there, that's great.
One.
One tree. While we were sitting there, the sprinkler came on. You're big move, and I thought, that's a good deal.
How you doing?
I'm signing. You know what, Albert, you know.
All right, it is that time. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. The pledge is not on the agenda.
It's not,
We can do it though.
you can, if you
Yeah,
want.
so let's go ahead. Come on, everybody else is ready for it. I'm good with it.
Old habits.
What's your latest, Sharon?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That would call the meeting to order. This time I'll take a motion to approve the agenda and or addendums. So moved.
My second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda. So approved. I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, new business. Approval of the collective bargaining agreement between the school district and the MHEA. So at this time, my understanding is that the union has ratified. So, I would entertain a motion to, accept the collective bargaining agreement between us and the association. I'll make the motion to accept the bargaining agreement from the association. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Okay, moving on. Approval of restrictions on staff travel and conferences. Mr. Gilbert.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I asked for this to be on the agenda this month, just to have a discussion. on what we're trying to look at as far as some things we can do to help control costs this year, knowing that budget is going to be tight this year. And so I wanted to have a discussion with the board on what you would like to see with this. And so part of the issue we have is professional development funds are not what they've been in the past. Predominantly, Jeff's budget pays for a lot of our professional development and a lot of our district leave. That money this year is allocated to our professional learning communities. And so there just is not a large budget this year to approve district types of leave. Doesn't mean that people can't go to them. It's just that there's going to have to be a different funding source for subs and travel and those kind of things. One of the things I'd also look at is restricting our coaches' professional development budget. The board set aside about $30,000. I believe it was 3 or 4 years ago for coaches training. And I think that it would be wise to also look at restrictions with that. I think anything that we have that is staff taking kids to things, that needs to stay as is for the benefit of those kids. And so I'm not looking at any restrictions with that. This is more about trainings that our staff is looking at attending, that in the past we would have been able to cover sub costs and travel and that kind of thing. Primarily again through our title funds that were there. And so just wanted to open that up to a discussion.
The 30,000 that was set aside before, was that title funds?
No, that was just a separate discretionary line item that the board had set aside. And I think it was 3 or 4 years ago to give our coaches the opportunity to attend some professional development.
How often was that used?
It's used every year, but the amount that it's used just kind of depends on the year. I can tell you football is the predominant user of it, but we do have a variety of different sports that do use that account. Basketball is another program, both boys and girls, that use it a fair amount. And we actually did have a cross-country coach use it this year as well too.
On average, how much of that is used annually?
That's a good question, Trustee Binion. If I was gonna make a statement on that, I'd say the average is probably around 20,000 and 30,000 that's been budgeted. Some years it's more, some years it's less. I think one of the things to keep in mind with a lot of the PD that's available in this day and age, a lot of it can also be done online at a pretty tremendously reduced cost.
And so that's for the coaches and for the staff.
Mhm.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the second one. You said it's for the coaching, but
the online stuff, I said it's for the coaching and the staff training available online. Oh. So if we were to cut the coaching one, or at least have it, currently, what kind of guardrails are there in place for the coaching? Is it they need to look at online conferences first?
Right.
Is it, or they just pick what they want?
Yep.
And
Right now, it's up to the discretion of the coaches. And as long as the funds are there, it's typically been a first come, first served type of scenario with it. And so, the guidance on it is just that it's, number one, a valid conference that they're attending. And so they need to have that information provided. But it's really been pretty open-ended to the needs of the coaches. And I think there's value there. But I also not sure that this is the year to allocate $30,000 to that if we're also looking at restricting professional development for our teaching staff. And again, it's just where we are budget wise with this. We were anticipating having a pretty healthy decline this year. And so trying to look at things that have not as much direct impact on the kids, knowing that the training is very valuable for our staff and for our coaches, but it's one of those ones that I think this is a year that we need to look at having some guardrails in there on what we do with that. And again, I don't want, we've got a couple of CTE folks here and this will impact them. You know, I just want people to know, we're not saying you can't go to conferences. It's just that there is not funding for district leave or district travel expenses built into the budget. And again, with Jeff's budget being allocated predominantly towards professional learning communities this year, we don't have that extra wiggle room in there.
So, we brought up with the CTE, so we know they get some of their own money.
Yeah.
Can that money, besides paying for their conferences and stuff, paying for their attendance to the conference, be used to pay for the substitutes or used to pay for the travel and cover those costs?
Yeah, there's definitely some flexibility there. What I will say is there's also things that they're required to go through within their professional development plans that are on file with Idaho Career Technical Ed. Those are things that I think you still, since they're a required thing for that employee, we need to make sure that, you know, that is covered from the district. I think it's anything that is optional, that needs to be something that program looks at, how they're gonna cover the funding for it.
Any program that, at this point, any program that gets money to be used for that stuff, it will be self-fund. Any kind of optional training, traveling, conferences. That type of stuff.
You know, we've got people that district wide, one of the biggest ones that we probably send people to is the IETA conference. That one will not be funded this year. That one is a conference that we had staff from every building going to. And so again, you know, it's my hope with this is a short-term restraint that hopefully we can have some more flexibility with that as the budget hopefully changes. I don't anticipate much from the state this next year, but hopefully down the road.
You know, I just wanted to throw out there that I truly believe that in years like this, we need to be very conservative up front. Later on, you can ease those guidelines, you know, and you can establish, you know, hey, we've had things change and we can do better. But to be conservative up front, I think is good. I think, you know, back in the day, and at my age, I certainly do go back in the day. You know, there's ways around it. There's ways of sending a smaller group. There's ways of sending the head coaches to something and not the entire group. And I totally understand the teamwork and the camaraderie of the whole group together and how you go and you get them all excited and new techniques and all of that involved. But I think there's ways to go and to attend, and then you come back to the district and you be the people that are putting the information out there and the training out there at a local level, and you're still maintaining the current protocols and techniques and whatever else is established. I realize it's not the same as if you have every single person attend, but there's ways that we still can use our staff for the training, get the training here, but it's gonna be local training. And not have that particular cost right up front. You know, just, I've seen that happen. It's worked before. And I think, being conservative, from the beginning is what we need to look at here, because you don't know about tomorrow. We might have other things that come up that are totally, much more dynamic in expenses that we're not anticipating. So I really feel that we can bring the information back from these conferences, but you can scale that down and send your representatives of your nucleus of the program, but I truly feel that, it can be done both ways.
So when we look at, you trying to be fair here across the board with it. Is there a percentage that you'd like to see the coaches PD training reduced? Would you like to see it eliminated for the year? I just, that's what I'm trying to get some guidance.
These people that are career. That needs to be first and foremost, to some kind of concern, they need to be able to cover. The cost to go to do a thing. Jeff. Well, his things that they have to have. That has to be, as far as I'm concerned, that has to be the priority. I don't know that we need to cover everything off, but. I don't know to leave that up to the coaches to make that decision either, if they want to go to a conference. They could. Give us some information, let us have the input at that time, see what the money's are, if they think at that time. At this point, we don't know. Every day is something to do with that. I don't want to cut everything out completely, but I don't think we should be, free rein. I think we have to take control and make sure that the people that need it for their, development. Teaching, especially, I think that needs to be.
As far as the coaching and we've had athletic directors, ultimate at their discretion,
Well, and that's the way it.
or you give them a budget and.
Yeah, but I mean, where we don't know for sure where we're at with the budget. I mean, what we're saying right now, 6 months from now or a month from now, there might be different. We've got, the football, and it's gonna be starting, I don't see them going to camps right now.
No, most of those are like winter time.
Right.
I think they've already.
Yeah, so that gives us some time to kind of take over there.
Right.
Just to see what's available. Yes, we have, I'm sure basketball coming up and but if you say football, then mainly they've been the users of it opposed to the others. I'd also like to see that spread out a little bit,
Can I clarify that, because there was some different rumblings, when we say that as far as the money goes, that's to the coaches, not to when they're taking their teams to certain.
No, it's just, this is when the coaches themselves are going.
So camps and things like that
Yeah,
are a whole different ballgame.
camps are a whole different.
Yeah. I just wanted to,
But I like Connie's idea, training.
I agree with that.
That they send 2 or 3 people from you don't need to send every coach from the football team. We send 2 or 3 of them, they come back and then they can hold their own clinic here for all of our football coaches. High school, junior high, and they should also have the online resources available to them to help.
So I think one of the things to help the AD is do you want to start off with a dollar amount that's available for exactly with the guidance that's there with that?
What's that dollar amount?
I think you could go,
Budget-wise, what do we look?
honestly, I think you could go with what your guidance is about sending maybe only head coaches, that kind of thing. I think a budget of 10,000 is reasonable. I think you can cut it by a third, 2/3 too.
I think that's reasonable, and I think you still leave the option, as Connie said, if it gets down a year and other
Yeah.
things come up, you can still review. It's not to say that it's this and there is no other chance.
And then with our other non-sports programs, what do you want to see guidance with that? Things that are district leave and expenses approved for required training, is that?
I would say the required stuff is to take care of, but if it's optional, then the program needs to pay for the bill. Include the subs. There is some verbiage in the collective bargaining agreement about that.
in regards to that.
Pretty optional.
Not really optional, but required.
Right, right, no, I understand, required,
Actually,
required.
instead of about the. Vertically to that optional training. That's more at the board's discretion, the district's discretion on. How it's used or the approval for that use.
Right.
But we have to pay for it, well,
Right, and that's what we're saying, we would still pay, we would deal with the required.
yes.
The optional, if it's optional, the program needs to put, I don't see the program, we need to put the bill.
Right.
Well, I would definitely say that it needs to be reviewed in the same approach of trainer,
Yeah.
even for those programs.
I think the travel is probably what it really needs to be looked at. Travel expenses and whether that's necessary. We're probably all over for it, but.
Thank you. That definitely gives some clarity. So, thank you.
So. Take a motion on that.
Sharon took the motion, Sharon.
How about a motion? Budgetarily, let's see, motion to. Spend money only for those required courses. Spread out that money between coaches. Only head coaches go to conferences. For any non-sport related conference, just the required.
You're confusing.
Let me try.
Okay.
Make a motion to. All. Conferences. Travel. That are required. Mandatory for the teachers. We will cover the cost as per the agreement. Collective bargaining agreement. The 30,000 that currently sits with the AD, for the coaches and stuff. Reduce that to 10,000. With the idea that only the head coaches or have an assistant coach who go and moves the training back to the rest of the staff, whether it's any one of the athletic activities. And if there's something other than that, they could bring the request to the board. And we could take a look at that request. Is that covered?
But we're missing one piece,
One piece was about that.
which is the staff side,
The staff is the optional.
the optional staff that needs to be reviewed.
Yeah, the program pays.
The program pays for it or can be reviewed by the board.
I got that right.
You got 2/3 right.
That was a good step.
All right, so we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Yes.
You made the motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against, okay, moving on. Discussion for the levy. The fun part of the night.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you've got some documents in front of you that Levi put together on just some different budgetary issues here, and as you look at the levy amount, so I'm gonna turn this over to Levi to try to answer or go through the document so that there's a little clarity there too. So Levi.
So there's quite a bit of information on here. The top part is going to be our average daily attendance. And I've broken it out in the last 4 years. So we have 22, 23. That is when we were, we had enrollment-based funding. And then FY 24-25, that's when we switch back to ADA. So basically the first line is going to be the enrollment on Impact Day Day. The next row is going to be the ADA for that year. And then the next line is going to be the ADA change from the previous fiscal year. You can kind of notice the ADA for 23 and 24 is basically the enrollment and ADA are very, very similar. And I'll get to that part here in a second. So the next rows is going to be the support units. I did the same thing for FY 22, 23, 24, and 25. So we have the support units for those, and then the next row is going to be the decrease from the previous year. So if you look at the support units for FY 23 and FY 24, our enrollment and ADA is practically the same, but you'll notice that we dropped 14.29 support units. So when we made that switch back to ADA, there was a big hit there. And then for FY 25, there was also another decrease of 7.93 support units.
So one of the things looking at this is our last supplemental levy, when we looked at that, when we set that amount, you know, it was based off of the enrollment-based funding. And so just that change from going to enrollment to average daily attendance has caused a huge hit to the budget. And so that's, I had Levi include that just so that we could look at, you know, we're down a few kids, but not 21 support units worth of kids from 2023. And so, you know, that I think needs to be factored into the next supplemental levy ask is, you know, we haven't reduced the kid number correspondingly to what the state's reduced our funding.
Each support, Levi, what's the dollar amount on the support unit?
It varies, it's around, averages around between 120 and 130,000.
You know, that 21,
Adds up quick.
20,000, 21,000, 21, let's see.
So
Yeah,
$2 million in
yeah,
reduced state funding.
Okay, how many support units do we currently have? How many do we currently employ at this time?
So the support units we get funded for is
That's the question. How many teachers do we have on the walls? I know we get funded for 166, but how many people do we have?
Well, 166 is 1.1 teachers, so that's 166 times 1.1 is what the general fund.
it's around 184, I believe.
So we have about 184 teachers on the walls.
Well, that's what we get funded for. We have 211 total.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. 211 total. And what funded for 100? When does their keeping this whole run out? From 88 or from enrollment to 88?
Well, we're okay now, that's part of what they built in, but you know, we will still adjust every year with as your enrollment goes down and your ADA goes, you know, our enrollment goes down and our ADA stays the same, we're still at, you know, and so I think that's part of the issue right now, it's just that uncertainty in attendance that we have, is right, part of the funding issue. And this is not a Mountain Home issue, this is a statewide issue right now. Our attendance rates in school, and so the state's found a way to cheap out on funding right now, going back to the ADA model. You know, post-COVID, in attendance at all schools has drastically decreased. You know, in our district, it used to be pretty normal, 92 to 94%. And, you know, I think we're probably running under 90% most of the time.
Basically, we're taking an additional 17 that we're not getting. Roughly 17 additional teachers that we're not getting funded for. That's a lot of teachers.
Okay, so the next part of this is kind of, this is where it gets a little interesting, so. Levi included his, tax bill from his home here in this, and if you look at your school facilities fund savings that we all got on our assessment here. So that is the money the state passed that goes directly to paying for your supplemental levies. And so in essence, it reduces your county tax obligation. And so he's got the allocation on here from the state in that next section, and then what they're estimating to be the next calculation with that's in code. So it makes for a very strange thing. So like if you look at Levi's assessment here, it says that supplemental levy, he paid $86 towards that, which is accurate, but that is not what he would have paid if the community was actually levied the $2.7 million. That was offset by the state funds that come into that. And so Levi's got this broken down here on here. And so it just takes a while to go through it to see what they're trying to do with this. So if you go to the very bottom of this, so the $2.7 million levy amount, he's got the state funds at 130.6 million, and that is what is estimated.
That's what's been funded
That's what's been funded
as of today.
So our $2.7 million levy would actually only cost the remaining portion of that to the patrons in Mountain Home would be $945,000. So pretty tremendous reduction that's there. On here, the 246 million, that number comes from.
That comes from what was allocated. So on the second page, there'll be basically a document that this came from the State Department today. This shows what's been funded so far and then what was allocated.
So if they fully distribute what they've allocated, what that would actually mean is there would be no cost to patrons, and there would be a $610,000 portion that then goes and sits in an account that can only be used towards levies and bonds. So it's a very strange thing, yet we are required to post what the levy amount on 2.7 million would be to the community. So it's gonna be a little difficult explaining this since they made that change, but that was the intent of the law. So you look, Levi ran scenarios of 2.7 million, 2.9, and 3.1 million. And if the state distributes what they've allocated, all of those come back at no cost to the community.
Okay, now I know I've asked this before, so this change is mess. We have to put on the levy that the money's gonna be used for whatever,
Correct,
and that's all we can use it for.
correct.
Can we put on, and I know I've never seen an answer from this from an attorney. Can we put on that ballot, the state allocation for this is, and it will cost you this. So when the patron sees it, they know it's a negative impact to them.
That's what so you have to put that language on your ballot. You have to include that
In that little
yes.
scenario.
So we can say that this is gonna
But
cost them nothing.
that's what we need to find out on, so you have to have, we'll give this to. I can't even remember the name of the agency we give it to, they're the ones who break down the cost of your levy.
Mhm.
And so I believe they now include that calculation. The issue with this is. We will not know on the 246 million until the end of August, is that correct?
Correct.
So they have to release the money at that point. So if they come out and say 246 million is going to this, then great, then this is what it'll be. If they come in and say it's something less, then that's something we have to factor in. So part of this is, when's the last date we can give the county our supplemental levy information? Is it 28 days prior to the election?
Hold on, find it.
So if we do nothing,
We lose $2.7 million.
we have to pass the bond in order for them.
You have to
or
pass the
levy
levy
in
to
order
get
for
the
them to
money.
get.
To give you the money.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Oh, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And even though we could end up with a credit,
I mean, it makes, it
and
makes,
patrons pay nothing.
it makes sense on the fact that we're telling the legislature, this is how much we need.
Right.
That's the only way this makes any sense. This is how much we need.
I agree, but then they,
And they're
they fund
okay.
the entire thing,
Yeah.
we end up with a credit, which is great, because, right? It's
And the
in,
community's
It's in-
asking what we're doing, basically. I mean,
Yeah.
they're wondering.
The break even on it's about 3.5 million. I mean,
Well,
that's the
that's
part you
not
go, you would just like them to
if
say,
you knew ahead of time, you can,
here's,
can you tell the patrons, this will cost you nothing, but we have to pass it, is that?
that's what we need to find out with the changes in this. So
You have to
Yes.
vote yes on this in
You
order
can't-
for us to get
So you
this.
can't say you have to vote
Yeah.
yes.
Well-
We cannot say that. What we can say, if this passes,
Okay. if
as this
passes,
policy, it will cost you nothing
It will
because the
cost you
state is funding it.
But it has to pass.
see, that's
Use that
what we need to find out on it. So
60 days prior.
60 days prior. So election day is November 4th, so September 4th.
Roughly.
So the thing we could do with this is, again, we could start putting this, getting verbiage correctly from the group that does this. And we could wait until we hear allocation from the state at the end of August before you make a final decision on the amount.
And they will spell this out for the patrons.
They have, the part that we need to find out is if we're still required to list it as if it's just based on the dollar amount, like what it would cost, period, prior to the state distributing the funds.
That's a yes, because I have to budget
Okay.
2.7, whatever the amount is, I have to budget that under local county revenue, even though a portion still comes from the state.
Right, but the question becomes on the ballot.
On the ballot,
Can we put that the state is going to cover this much of the levy?
that's what,
If
That's
At
the
some
question.
level, the state's gonna cover some level, right?
Right, but
They're trying to
that's,
reduce their tax burden, right?
yes,
but that's the big
Will
question is, can we
Right.
put that on the ballot?
And we have roughly 4 days to figure that out.
It's gonna be tight.
we can find out on the language portion of it probably before the next regular board meeting. And then have it ready to go so that, you know, hopefully they distribute the allocation like they said they would before the end of the month. And then if we needed to have a meeting on September 1, we can do that.
So could we just,
So we,
could we have them do up one for 2.7 and one for 2.9?
yes,
And then we can just decide at that point which one.
Yep.
Based, you know, I mean, we could decide today based on what the numbers are on the 31st, which one to run.
I think we'll have them run it all three. I think that's fair. Have them run all three of those.
Right, but I mean, we can put it out, we can decide tonight, pending the release of the state's budget. We'll dictate which dollar amount we run. Can we do that legally, Sharon,
Yeah,
as a motion?
you could make a motion to declare that we're going to run a supplemental levy for X dollar or X dollars. We just don't have the state reimbursement.
I would like to see the verbiage.
Yeah.
I think that would.
Yeah, we can
have
have that.
something about before we even consider a motion.
Okay.
That's my,
For
because
the next board.
I can
meeting.
send you
Yeah.
the notice that has to go out, that has all the language that's on the ballot from the last.
This will be
different, because the last time we ran, the state didn't screw this up
yeah,
and add this reimbursement to
yeah. So
It really
we can work on that.
it. So could we have language possibly by the next board meeting?
That's-
So,
Yeah, I think it's, so, yeah, I think so.
we know the dollar amount won't be there, but we could see 95% of the verbiage
Yeah,
by the 19th.
if we knew the dollar amount and the 3.5, and if you could. That information out,
Yeah.
essentially costs them nothing.
Nice. Once we know that dollar
Just
figure,
ask.
then we can.
Yeah, yeah. First. People don't believe that.
But, well, the sample ballot does go out in the paper and it goes out, so they'll see it in writing that this is covered.
Right.
And we might have to hold a special board meeting for the resolution,
Right.
because you won't have numbers solidified in time for this next board meeting. Will you?
no.
No, we won't know.
So you'd have to have.
We won't know till the 31st. So. Let's look at some dates.
31st is a Sunday.
Yeah. So we can set one.
Second.
Second.
We'll do the same time.
Yeah.
5:30 on the second?
Sure.
On September 2nd.
Yes. Okay, September 1st is Labor Day, so.
Yeah, that would work. I would have told you that had you said the first.
Now you need a motion.
Motion
To
for-
schedule a special board meeting.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right. There you go, September 2nd, 5:30, we'll do that part. Hopefully we'll have what we need.
Mhm.
Well, with the first being a holiday and the 31st being a Sunday, we're good. Would the third be better?
Second.
The second's good?
Yeah.
We should, but.
Let's do on the fourth.
Yeah,
I guess,
Yeah,
yeah,
mistake, too many.
you see the confusion, it's in the, exactly.
Yeah, possible if we get that information early to.
Move it up,
yeah. Absolutely.
All right. With that, I will entertain a motion to go to executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And roll call, please.
Trustee Knox.
Aye.
Trustee Perez.
Aye.
Trustee Donahue.
Aye.
Trustee Finnegan Evan.
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye. All right, be it so resolved that the Board of Trustees of School District Number 193 recess from open meeting with a following executive session. Pursuant to Idaho Code Title 74, Chapter 2, Section 74-202, subsection 3, subsection 4, subsection C, subsection 6, subsection A. Open meeting, Section 74-204, notice of meetings, dash agendas, 74-206, subsection 1, subsection B, to consider the evaluation of the public school employee medical code, be it further resolved. The following executive session, Board of Trustees will convene into public session for further business for adjournment of the meeting. All right, we are in executive session.